Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Straight Path Films. Welcome to our podcast show. Tonight we have a very, very special guest. Not only is he a family member, but a good brother in the community. He is a Muslim brother, police officer, author, father, husband. I can go a community activist. He wears a lot of hats. Real estate agent, real estate mogul. So he wears a lot of hats. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome to my podcast show tonight, brother Hakeem Tate. Welcome to the show, brother. Welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. How you doing this evening?
Hey, good. How about yourself, brother?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I always like to start off the show by praising Allah subhanahu wa bihamdihi wa ashhadu anna ilaha anta wa astaghfiruhu wa atubu ilayh. So we like to always start off by praising our creator, praising Allah, giving salutations unto the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was the final messenger sent by Allah. But without further ado, again, we have on the show with us tonight Brother Hakeem Tate. And like I said, Brother Hakeem Tate, he wears a lot of different hats. And so he is a real estate mogul. He is a police officer in the Washington, D.C. area for the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. He is also a community activist. He is also an author. And so without further ado, Brother Hakeem Tate, welcome to the show again, brother. Just trying to give some folks some time to get on. We got a couple of people joining so far, so we want to give some folks some time to, to join us. I don't want them to miss the good stuff, But while they doing that, give us a brief introduction of yourself, who you are, where you from, how long you been on the police department, so on and so forth.
Okay, I'm 38 years old. Born and raised right here in Washington, D.C., third generation native Washingtonian. So what that means is that my parents and my grandparents and their parents were here and natives of Washington. Grew up at the bottom of Trinidad in the area called Wally Courts, which is probably one of the most infamous spaces in DC. When it came to violent crimes and drug activity and stuff. So, that type of environment helped shape me and mold me into the type of officer that I become to be today. I've been in law enforcement for about 17 years. From law enforcement, I've able to see a whole lot of things and been influenced by different people who I've met along the way. Some in good nature and some in bad nature. But either way, finding the good and the bad and making it into diamonds and creating those jewels. So like I said, 37 years old. I attended Montgomery College, Tacoma Park campus, and then I went over to University of Maryland University College, where I got my bachelor's in criminal justice and sociology. So I guess you could say I'm well studied. What did you say, Lake?
I would say so. I would definitely say so. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, so they say nowadays bachelor not enough, but go ahead.
Yeah. So you are Muslim. That is your faith. That is your that's the faith that you follow. How long have you been Muslim? Were you born Muslim? Did you convert to Islam later on in your life? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, so I was born and raised Muslim, and that was my mother's and father's religion, and my grandparents as well on my father's side, so to speak. But I had a great deal of balance and a great deal of teaching because my grandfather on my mother's side, Clifford Thomas, rest in peace, he just passed away maybe a few weeks ago, maybe about a week and a half ago, 101 years old. He was the father of the church,
Wow.
our Street Baptist Church. So I had a good balance of faith and support and direction for both sides, from the Muslim side and from the Christianity side, via my grandfather down at our street, First Baptist Church of our street. So, it was a good balance. It kept me grounded, and it allowed me to see both views and both sides of the world. And yeah. So but being born and raised Muslim, it gave me a sense of patience and connecting. It's just a different type of stillness. If you would say, but learning the teachings of Christianity from my grandfather and him asking me every Sunday, "You I eat pork?" Your mama feed y'all pork.
That's like the famous
Those
question,
was
right?
the good things because those was I mean different teachers, different households, different rules. But grandfather had enough respect for my mother's and father's choices that he had enough respect to ask, and I think he found some humor in accent too because he knew goodness well we wasn't messing with no pork. But to each his own, man. That wasn't a teaching that we got in reference to food and nutrition from my mom and dad. So
Right. So growing up Muslim, because you're also a police officer for the Washington D.C. Police Department, correct?
yeah.
Okay, and how long have you been a police officer? And the first part of that question actually is being Muslim, right? How did that affect your choices as far as
hmm
what profession you wanted to go into growing up?
Well, growing up, TV and Top Cat and all of these other cartoons and stuff, they had an impression on me where it was always good guy, bad guy, cops and robbers. And at some point in my childhood, I wanted to be a cop. I was fascinated by the the Harley Davidson police motorcycle down the street on 8th Street. I think it was 4th and 8th Street at the Children's Museum. I used to go in there and get that Mexican Cocoa and hop up on that police bike every time we would take that 10-15 minute walk. Cause we walked. There was we wasn't waiting on no bus. We walking down 8th Street,
That's right. That's
from
right.
Trinidad to get to the Children's Museum. And it was about 20 of us. It's about 20 of us. I tell you no lie. 20 of us with a loaf of bread and about 10 to 15 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches stacked. And one jug of juice strength from Murray Steakhouse. So
Okay.
so being raised Muslim, it wasn't as I became a teenager, it wasn't a popular thing. The things that I would see from the police, in Trinidad, and them taking my brothers, away. And when I say brothers, not just my biological brothers, but these older guys who grew up, in my neighborhood that would give me $25, well, 25 cents to go and get, Swiss roll cake, or 50 cents to get a Mr. Freezy or something like that, Boston baked beans, all the little hood candies and stuff. But
Right.
those older guys were considered big brothers as well, and to see them get dragged away for nonviolent offenses, that was tough to make a choice like that to enforce laws that were created by, pretty much,
Right.
legislation, society, and stuff like that, which forever changing, like whereas,
Right.
for point in fact, marijuana is legal now.
Right. That's right.
Before you catch a charge and you spend some time in jail for something that's now a different type of controlled substance, so to speak.
Right.
But it still takes some groundingness to be able to be compassionate and understanding and enforcing the law. And I think being raised Muslim, it helped me to do that. It helped me to see beyond myself and what my idea of enforcement and stuff was, and really be more understanding and listening and problem solve. Because if there's a problem that exists, the thing is we want to solve the problem, not put a band-aid on it. So we had to keep coming back and taking that approach, being raised Muslim. And they would see that compassion and understanding and taking that approach I think it made me a better cop.
Okay. Okay. Now, when you talked about your balance, the balance that you had in your life early on, with the Christian side of your family and the Muslim side of your family, how did that balance, right? Because I was listening to an interview with the mayor of Chicago about a week or two ago when she was talking about the incident that happened with the woman who the police ran into her home, and they ran into the wrong home. They held
hmm
her without any clothes on for about 45 minutes. And the mayor
hmm
spoke about a lot of different things, but she spoke about the inhumane treatment that she received, right? And so, as a police officer, as a Muslim, as an African American, knowing what's ailing our society and what's ailing our communities right now, how do you utilize that balance, or implement that balance when you are out as a police officer, right? And how do you, take that empathy or that compassion and deal with your problem solving or the issues that may arise that you see in the communities?
Well, asking questions and seeing what's right in front of you and not passing judgment, Christianity. and Islam both teach you not to pass judgment. Like, we all have one God who is the ultimate judge, and that's we have to answer to for whatever wrong deeds or doing that we may have. And a lot of people refer to those as sins. So not approaching the situation with judgment, but trying to find understanding. Why did this happen? And now that it happened, we can't take it back. So how do we get past it so that, so taking that approach and just looking at what's going on, you know, every single job that somebody has, whether it's, the fire department, the postal service, and somebody kick your package up on the stairs versus walking it up.
Yeah.
The bus driver speed off on you and he see you coming, he know you coming. You know what I mean? You at that stop every single day. He looked at you as he sped up, but he ain't. So every single job, in my opinion, every single job that you have some people that ain't good at that job, and that probably shouldn't be doing that job. And but we as a sound people, Muslims or Christians, we have to understand that sometimes we may work amongst people who aren't good at doing that job. And if we're put in a position to, I hope sometimes that we're put in a position to protect those who are at the mercy of somebody who doesn't do the job well. And that goes back to the question of, hey, if it's an unpopular thing, right, which it is right now, it's super unpopular to be a police officer. If it keeps going that way for black, brown, and people of other nationalities that don't necessarily rock with the police, so to speak, then it won't be a balance. You won't have that officer that's there that has the compassion, and you won't have that officer there to be a blessing to that person, to pull up the officer that's doing a wrong job to the side and say, hey, you're doing that a little wrong. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you just look at the numbers. If it's 10, if it's 9 bad and you got 1 good, it's the probability of that 1 being at all those 9 other scenes. Like, he can only be a 1 of the 9 scenes, and so you got 8 people who may get mistreated. So, but the more people, and just to give not even give a shout out, but the understanding of, I watched Chief. Oh my goodness, I was so excited when he gave his speech,
The new
because
chief?
the first thing the new chief, the first thing that the new chief, Conti, had said was that, he used words when he talked about his father and his drug use as sickness. He used words like compassion. He used words like understanding. And to have that approach from the leadership like that's something that I get excited about, because I I've been on for 17 years and I haven't heard it in that setting, you know,
Okay.
in a setting from, on the news, you know what I mean, leader of a department that's
Right.
historically been a suppressive style of, you know, the idea of policing period in America before was looked at as historically suppressive, and suppress crime, and that's just the idea that society has but to hear that chief come and give that approach, and to tell his story, where he came from, and being a caddy right there on 21st Street. I know kids that live up 21st Street. I grew up with some kids and played football and basketball with some kids that grew up from. So the connection and the fact that he understands the culture of the city just means so much. It's like, he kind of gets how this thing moves. So I'm excited about that. But in a nutshell, yeah, just find a balance. And the more people that see that it's a popular or safe thing to do. When I say safe, man, it's safe. Like, your friends and some of your family members might not f with you no more, so to speak, because
Okay.
you chose this particular
Right.
profession.
I
But
witnessed that. Witnessed that in many families.
you got that big picture. Yeah,
Mhm.
we witnessed
Right.
that. But
Mhm.
you got the big picture, and whatever your mission is, you just hold true to it, and hold true to yourself and the teachings that you got, from the people that came before you about how to be a good person. You know what I mean?
We do have some folks that are watching, and for all of our guests, we want to welcome you to the podcast, Straight Path Films podcast. Again, we have a special guest with us today, Hakeem Tate, who is a DC police officer, author, father, husband, um, real estate mogul, you name it. He wears a lot of different hats. If you all would like to place any comments or any questions for our esteemed guests, please put them in the chat, and I'll do my best to try to ask them those questions and get an answer for you. But I want to keep it somewhere where you talked about the police being a blessing, right? A blessing to the community, and then you spoke about the words that the new chief used, and we know that there's power in words, right? And that when Allah even talks about it in the Quran, right? He talks about ikra, right? Read, or how Allah says when he talks about the pen in Quran, right? How everything starts with that notion, right, of writing or speaking something into existence before it can actually take place. And so, just like you were affected by his words, did you notice, or in your conversations with your colleagues, have you heard any of your colleagues echo the same sentiment as you, as far as hearing some of the things that he talked about and how he talked about those issues?
Oh yeah, they echo it, and I've been listening, and just the morale in itself has, to me, in my opinion, from what I see, has picked up. Um, you know, the work that he's done thus far, and his background, just, I mean, it speaks for itself, and to have a leader like that, and to know what his morals may be, and to hear the passion in his voice, and to hear his story, it just, it's like we share something. You know what I mean? When he said on this news channel that he cooked in the kitchen when he was 14 years old, and that he grew up over in Northeast, and that, and I'm like, yo, I grew up in Northeast. I was busting dishes in the kitchen at age 14. So
Okay.
to hear that come out of his mouth gave me a little bit of motivation to know that maybe one day that I could be the chief,
Right. That's
and so
right. That's
that's what it does,
right.
and it did that for me, and it did that for several other people that may or may not have wanted to aspire to move up in rank, and you know what I mean. So it motivated people. It showed us that, it can be done. You can come from the hood, and daddy can be on drugs, you know
Mhm.
and you can still make something of yourself. That's super big.
My father is my best friend, and I'm not ashamed to say that my father was a substance abuse addict for about 20 years. But again, he's my best friend. He was always a father, even during his illness, that he was dealing with. So I don't want to take too much time speaking about your role as a police officer, but I think your role as a police officer has actually led you into some of the other community work that you do. And I want to speak about something. You're an author, and we want to talk about your book here. Well, two books now. So, God Bless the Mother and the Twins Adventure, a race with the officer friendly. Can you speak a little bit about first the Twins Adventure, and then speak about your second book, which is God Bless the Mother? Tell us how these books came to mind, how they became actually books that you can buy on and purchase on Amazon now. I'll put that link back up for all of our guests, so you can definitely support our brother and purchase these books. I purchased both of them myself for my grandson. He loves them. So I encourage you all to go out and support Black-owned business, Black author. We're always looking for characters that that our children can relate to, positive stories that we can put out into the community. And I think that these two books are awesome books. They're great books. They hit it right on the head. And let's just talk about a little bit how these two books. First of all, let's talk about how you became an author. Where did that passion of writing and wanting to be an author come from? And then how did that lead into to the books that we see today?
Yeah, well, man, I've been writing since probably about 9 years old, man. And me and my twin brother Helene, When I say we was crushing it, man, we was crushing it. We had a deal lined up with Universal Records. I'm not gonna give all of the story away, but we was ready to go. He passed away from cancer, and then that became writing became a tough thing for me because it was something that we shared, from together from a very early age. So, when I had enough, I found it in myself to start writing again. I got my own nonprofit organization called Live Your Dreams Youth Group, and I was working with youth because I had people like Dion Rita and Miss Linda Fisher, the Concerned Black Men, Baba Gary, and Mr. Fisher. The list goes on of mentors that I had to put their arms around me through these nonprofit organizations that were in the city that helped mentor me and show me that, yo, okay, cool, you ain't got to be a jerk out here. And in that I found that there was not much literature that had real meaning, and real meaning or real representation of us, so to speak, Black, Brown, Latino, people of color. And so I wanted to provide those images in a fun, rhythmatic way. So the first book out the gate was God Bless the Mother. And God Bless the Mother was a derivative of a song that me and my twin brother wrote. Uh, Almost 20 years ago, and so the same style of rhythmic words and stuff like that is used. Same, God bless the mother for getting up every day, getting the kids out to play and starting on their way. So those words being put in the hearts and minds of children at a very young age, it gives them appreciation and a level of respect for their parents. And it shows that, hey, mom, if you look at the book, you put the book back up there, you look at the book, mom ain't no slouch. Mom still got herself together. She got one in her tummy and two boys on her side. And look at the smile on her face. So it also gives that subliminal message of encouragement to women who have kids and may have one on the way, that just because you got kids don't mean that you got to let yourself go. You know,
Right. Right.
you can still pull your head back and put your fun stuff on. So it gives them a sense of encouragement to let them know that, hey, I've seen it. It can happen. So that means I can do it. You know what I mean? And so that was the first book out the gate. And then the second one was The Twins Adventures of Race with Officer Friendly. I was going through a tough time within myself and my career. And I felt the need to show what I wanted it to look like, and what I wanted to see, and the stories that I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear a story. I got tired of the middle fingers when I was riding past. Because every time I got a middle finger, I pull over, got out the scout car,
You
and
will
be like,
flow?
man, Slim, you don't even know me. Like, what's good? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, wow.
let's race. I say,
Okay.
listen, I don't even want to chase you. I don't want to chase you, man. I don't want you to run from me. I don't
Right.
want to chase you, but let's race. Because
Right.
after we race, I can show you how to win. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's the
Right.
story. And when I
I'm with
can show, I want to show you how to win. I want to
right.
show you what it means to get up. I want to show you what it means to manage your time. I want you to see that I came right here. I came from the same hood. You
That's right.
know, you
That's
know,
right. And you do it too.
Ward 5, Ward 6, Ward 7. Exactly. And so I wanted to show them that they could win. So it was important for me to say, hey, it's a race, and to have the officer to hold the flag, and the backgrounds and the stories and stuff are like the officer daughter plays with the twins and other kids in the same neighborhood, so he has
Okay.
a direct responsibility for all of those kids, because his daughter's like, and this is from, these kids are probably maybe around 7 or 8 years old. So we know in a community, you grow up together. By the time we get 14 or 15, even if I'm getting into something, the officers know me. He know my father. He know my mother.
That's right.
You
A
know, he know
village.
he know where I belong. He know what I
Mhm.
should be into, what I shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? A village, exactly. And so the same responsibility that the officer has to protect that community, the community has that same responsibility to protect that officer's daughter when he gone.
Well,
You know
in
what I
Islam,
mean? When he out at work and stuff like that. So that book has that type of yeah, that
right?
type of village background.
Yeah, that village. And Islam talks about, the rights of our neighbors, right?
Uh huh.
Whether they're Muslim or not, our neighbors have rights upon us, right? And so when you talk
Yeah.
about the responsibility of the officer, being a servant and a protector of the community. That has to go both ways. When you think about how policing actually, or how, policing or neighborhood watch groups actually started in this country, when you talk about the Bloods and the Crips, right? And when you talk about that,
Mm-hmm.
those organizations were started to not only protect the community, but provide for the community and also hold the community accountable, right? For what was going on inside of the
Yeah.
community, right? And so I think
Mm-hmm.
in the African American community, yes, there is a huge disdain towards police officers based on what's been going on in the country. But I also think there's a huge lack of accountability from community members themselves, right? And so we have to, I believe,
Yeah.
find that balance, right, between those of us who live in the communities and those of you all who police the community, so that we can begin to come together and have this dialogue, right, and begin to rebuild the village
Yeah.
that it's going to take to save our children and to continue to raise our children. Correct. So, can you speak of any other
Yeah.
books that what is
Definitely.
it to come out? What inspires you to write?
Um,
So speak a little bit about that.
yeah. So right now, and I just released on Father's Day, this past Father's Day, 2020. Even yet during the pandemic, I released a book called The Twins Adventures. Papa Never Let Us Down. So, and that pretty much was like, yo, my papa never let me down. He always picked me up and pushed me on. So from that, it gives the father that it's encouraging fathers to be home long enough to read a 10-minute book to their children. You know what I mean? Regardless of what the gender of the child is, it's encouraging fathers to take time with the children, because so often we're trying to catch up. We're trying to
Mm,
catch up. So we working 2 and 3 jobs and sleeping 4 hours just to try to even things out,
right.
even things out and give our kids something better. But the thing that I think that I've learned from Islam is that, money is good, but time is everything. The amount of time and nourishment that I give to my children, it's everything. And so often it's the women that provide that nourishment and that love and that time, because the man is always out. But we want to be able to find a balance in that, where that father can do the same thing. And so that book talks about how the father helps with homework, how the father teaches them how to do give them music lessons. Well, my father, he was a musical genius. Joseph Tate was a musical genius.
Talk a
Producer,
little bit about. Talk a
scored
little bit.
music for people, and he
Talk,
scored music for people like the Soul Searchers, and even prior to the Soul Searchers, the Fuzz and Top 100 Billboards. Like, I mean, a list can go on of music. He was a musical genius. So in this book, it was important because I didn't learn how to read music, but I
mm,
wish my father would have. You know, so this talks about the amount of time that a father should spend with his children, and that time it also gives that woman a break, and it creates a better balance in the household. So it's dropping those little gems and little jewels, so kids are impressionable, at a very young age. So giving them an idea of balance and what a father's supposed to do and what a father's supposed to look like, in my opinion, because we all got our own backgrounds, our own
that's right.
opinions
That's
of
right.
what,
That's right.
life
That's right.
should look like in the family structure. But it starts the conversation, and it makes you think about it. Like, yo, do I want this? Do I not want this? And so these books do that, and they show it. They show it to us in a rhythmic way. The next book that I'm coming out, I ain't really trying to reveal it. It's gonna be fun. It's and I ain't gonna talk too much about it until it hit, come March 2021. It's the Twins Adventures A Day in the Park with Rocky the dog. So it introduces dogs, and it introduces, you know, man's best friend, and that whole notion. So, writing has been therapeutic. It's been a great business because it's one of those things we talk about, building wealth. We get more into that when we get into the real
Mhm.
estate piece. So, um, early on, I learned that they say it takes 7 streams or more of income for you to be a millionaire or to be wealthy, and this, that, and the other. So with that idea in mind, creating books, every single book, you know, is a stream of income, because
That's
you
right.
buy one book, you buy two books. If I get up to 7 books, that's 7 different streams of income, because everybody may like all 7 books. everybody made like 3 books, everybody made like 4 to 7. Like the idea is to keep it coming, but to also have good morals in it and to know that you're not just throwing out some trash. So I take my time when I write the books. I put really good thought into it. The illustrators, this last book, I went all the way to Italy to get this illustrator. And when you see the illustrations from this like this was when it's really dope. It gives you the Pixar feel. You know what I mean? So I mean, I invest in myself. You know what I mean? I invest in myself by managing my time, being accountable, like we talked about. Accountability, and creating those streams of income. And streams of income, when that money comes in, then we can possibly get the land, and then get the
Right.
house,
That's right.
and then
That's
get
right.
the vegetables and the fruits,
Right. Right.
and so yeah, so and that's the real estate side of things, like sustainability. You know what I
Right.
mean? Sustainability, building wealth, and the sustainability part of it is how to sustain the wealth that you build, because yeah, it can all go away in a matter of a minute. And I don't really like to use the word humble, but humility. Being human. I don't like to use the word humble, because sometimes when people use the word humble, and the meaning of humble in some dictionaries, it is to lower one's self value. I don't want you to lower your self value. I want you to know that you're super valuable, but at the same time, I don't want you to forget to be human. You know what I mean? So yeah, being human, being able to be touched, and being able to reach out and embrace somebody else that needs the help, and give them the time and stuff that somebody gave you. So yeah, that's all in building wealth, man, in the real estate field.
Okay. Now, before we move on, we have a question from the chat, and I'm going to also place back up the 2 books that you have out right now, so that folks, our guests, can actually take time to write down the names of the books. You can purchase the books from Amazon. They're available at Barnes and Nobles, Kmart. What is this? Politics and Pride. Prize. So here's the books.
Hmm.
Here's all my guests, support the brother, buy his books. So the question from the chat, and it's a great question, and it's staying right on the topic of policing. How can we have a setting with police officers and community residents with no weapons to engage, to come to and understand what a police officer's duties are, and what is the understanding of the community's duties to the police? So how can we kind of put something like that together? If you had organizations who wanted to have a sit down with the police and have an event in which they engage the police, and like the gentleman said, with no weapons, how can somebody, organization or individual or community, set something like that up?
Yeah, so I get the idea. That's a wonderful idea, but we remember people. And remembering people, whatever tool, like a tool, it's only there is a lot. A tool is only there as much as you allow it to be, you know, and that takes for both sides, it to happen on both sides. And what I mean by that is that officer has to forget at some point that he doesn't have that gun there. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
and the
I'm with you.
community member has to and what I mean by that is that it's no need for it. When I say it's no need for it, meaning that it's not necessary. And it's many times that I can't tell you the last time I had to pull out my firearm. It's like communication and understanding, and that's the last thing that you want to do. So we can have that type of setting, but it has to be uh it has to be something that we all can agree to, and it has to be grassroots, and we all have to be accountable for our actions, and be willing to be held accountable for our actions. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
important.
and,
That's
and then I think that's the part that we miss. People be like, "Oops, my bad," and they don't want to be held accountable for their actions, you know. But you're like, yeah, you got to be held accountable for your actions. So that's the part that really makes it difficult to do. And the other part that makes it afraid is that snake in the grass, man. We've all been in groups where one person or two people may pretend to be something that they aren't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then that leaves the question of are we all safe,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
or
Because
are we
safety.
all at the mercy of this one person who is pretending? Yeah, so safety is really the paramount thing, you know what I mean? In my personal opinion, if we had a setting where, and see, that's still another safety thing. If we had a setting where, you know, it was a senior or somebody who was the sergeant at arms, so to speak, for the group to get to a firearm or a sword or a mallet or whatever tool that they deem is necessary to keep the community safe. If it was a shaman or whatever, or a chief or somebody that would be that and had sound judgment to do that, then yeah. But the bottom line is that history has shown us that time after time, village after village, there were people outside of the village and sometimes inside of the village that wanted to cause destruction, and we needed something and someone to be that protector, you know, because we wanted to minimize casualties, you know. So yeah.
Now it sounds like to me, and this is before I move along to and talk about and speak a little bit about the work you do in as a real estate agent, and also some other work that you do as a community activist. It seems to me that a lot of your inspiration for your books and how you live your life comes from your family. Can you speak a little bit about your family? Right? How many siblings do you have? Speak a little bit about your wife and and your children. You know, because I know your wife plays a intricate and a strong role, and she has to be patient with all the things you're doing, man. So can you talk a little bit about your
Oh
family?
my goodness. My wife is, and that's the first thing I'm gonna talk about first, because I understand the difference. You know,
Mhm.
this isn't my first wife, and but she is my first soulmate, and
Okay.
she has been more than I could imagine. She's been patient. She's been selfless. She's I mean, she works as hard for me as I work for her and anybody else out here in this world. You know, and you know, I give her thanks in my mind every second of the day that I realize that, you know, I'm able to do what I'm doing and move what I'm doing, and I don't get a complaint. She gets the big picture, and she's not selfish. You know, she's not selfish when I lend my time and my energy, and you know, parts of my brain to people in the world that need it. She's not selfish. She won't hem hard, complain, and or any of that. So outside of that, I'm the you talk about family, you know. Yeah, there they
Hmm.
go. So you talk
Hmm.
about family. Before this family, before my current family, um, my immediate family. I'm number 3 of 10. So yes, that's
Wow.
right. I got 10 brothers and sisters, and yeah, daddy,
Okay.
daddy, daddy wasn't a Rolling Stone as much as I know, but 10 of us
Well,
by the
I tell
same
you, it
mother and
was
father. You
granddad.
know, yeah, it was the same woman. You know what I mean? Exactly. So, you know, 10 brothers and sisters, man, all by the same mom and dad, and you know, I take my hat off to all of my big brothers. I've learned so many lessons from my big brothers. You know, they taught me how to fight. My big brothers and my cousins taught me how to take a punch. So you can't just hit this jaw and think I'm gonna fall. I can take a couple, and you know I know how to get back at you. So you say built for tough, like in every sense of the word, built for tough, and being able to be patient and sound enough to learn from all of their mistakes and hear the stories. So many of those mistakes I was fortunate enough not to have to make. They made them for me. And I can never thank them enough for the mistakes that they made for me. Even if they didn't think that they were doing it, I was
You paid
blessed
attention.
enough to be able to see it come before me.
You
Huh?
paid attention.
So yeah, 10 of us. And huh?
You had to pay attention to those mistakes so that you knew what those mistakes were. Because when you came back, when you came into a
Yes.
situation when those mistakes, where was that situation popped up, you had to be able to recognize that as, hey, that was the mistake my big brother made. I'm not
Yes.
going down that path, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So being able to see those mistakes, man, and those was that was like, when you say life saving. I still made plenty of mistakes, so don't get it twisted. And I'm still making mistakes, but from every mistake that I make, I promise that I promise myself that I will learn something from it, and I won't make that same mistake twice. So, and not the exact same mistake. So, that's pretty much it. And so, as far as my sisters, they taught me compassion and how to stand in the corner with one leg in the air till my arm started hurting because I wasn't listening while mama and daddy was gone. So so when I got to grade school and the teacher was like stand in the corner, I was like, oh, this is nothing. I'm standing in the corner already at home. So now
Right.
what? So
Yeah, plenty of practice.
so so I was
Yeah.
prepared. When you say I was prepared, man, I was prepared. I was prepared. Even and taking the time to reflect is really important. So everybody out there, take time and quiet your mind and meditate and reflect on where you came from and the mistakes that you made and the mistakes of other people and the stories that you hear. Take time to reflect because what they will do is I remember like standing in the corner, hands up, it went from home to school. And now we got inauguration around the corner. That's what I'm gonna be. My hands ain't gonna be in the air, but I'm gonna be standing on my feet for probably at least 5 to 10 hours in work boots. So, God has a way of preparing you for those things. And you just gotta take the time to quiet your mind enough to remember that you was built for this. Like, you've been here before. And he prepared you for whatever walk you about to walk. So find some patience, find a way to ground yourself, and don't worry and know you're gonna make it through. Look at me, I'm not trying to be a preacher, but I'm just
No,
sharing my story and trying to get people to understand that,
Now you spoke about your dad,
it's
right? Speak about your mom.
yeah.
Speak about your
Hmm.
mom because your dad has been deceased for some years.
Oh,
Speak about your mom, her strength, right?
man.
And the matriarch of the family, 10 children. Speak about her, man, because that's you don't hear that today.
Man, er- everybody and their mama, everybody in the hood, from the bottom to the top, Trinidad, Wally Courts, even Rosedale and Elliott Easton, they'll tell you, mama will teach. If mama will teach you something, she always got something to teach you. So my mom, she, candy stripe girl, and so cousins camp. So she would literally have 30 or 40 of us at one time. So not just her 10, but like legitimately cousins and neighborhood cousins, like 30 or 40 of us, and walking us down to the Smithsonian. Mom really played the intricate role because she opened up our world to other things and other cultures by taking those long walks. When I say walk, yes, we walked to the National Mall from the bottom of Trinidad, 13th and 9th Street and 8th Street. We walked all the way to the National Mall. And then when we got there, we walked some more because we ain't just going to
In
one museum.
order.
We went into every museum that you could think of,
In
you
order.
know? Yeah. And so mom was really played a really big role in my learning, even though I'm gonna be honest, I was a C average, or I am a C average student, because when you think about book work and test taking and all that kind of stuff, to keep it 100, like I ain't that great at that, you know what I mean? But comprehension and hard work and compassion and understanding, I'm gonna ace that test. You know what I mean? I'm gonna try my best to ace it. But mom was really intricate in making sure that we had the knowledge and explored and asked questions. Matter of fact, I think that she used to call us the young explorers or something like that. You know what I mean? Because we was
That is what
always
she.
exploring something and coloring leaves and climbing trees. You know, and eating
I
peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I think we had to split it because it was like 30 of us.
30 of us, but this is the thing. I
Yeah.
remember when your mother took us to Shenandoah. It was probably 25 of us, and she took us whitewater rafting, right? And I remember this is one occasion that showed me that my aunt Manira is tough as they come, and she gonna take a licking and keep on going. The raft that she was in, showing us how, trying to teach us, that you talked about her being the teacher, teach us how it go, how we supposed to get into the raft, how we supposed. Well, her raft turned over, and she was underwater for uh, a few seconds, right? And when she
Wow.
came back up, you would have never. She didn't come back up in panic. She came right back
Right.
up in full stride, still in teaching mode. Now we were all laughing. We thought funny at the time, but that was like she never stopped teaching during those moments, right? And so I love your mom, man, and I wanted you to speak about her a little bit because I think that she deserves,
Yeah.
spoken about, and to for those of you who don't
Oh
know,
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Manure Mobile Tate, she is a teacher, and
Yeah.
she's my aunt,
Miss
and I love her dearly, man. So
Yeah, Miss Tate done told the world. You know what I'm saying? They used to tease me, right? I said, "Why don't you go get Miss Tate to make us some of those bean pies?" And and I tell my boys, and we be out playing throwback. We be outside in the alley playing throwback tackle football. I said the alley. Yes, I did. Trying not to land on nobody's car and put dents. And he said, "Yeah, why don't you go tell Miss Tate to make us one of those bean pies?" I said,
Mhm.
won't you go tell your mother to make us some Jesus cookies?" So man, we had a real good fun hood, and we embraced each other, and we loved on each other, man. And we finished playing some football. But yeah, my mom, man, I don't know who don't know my mom, man. And she's been instrumental in when I got in trouble, because I got in trouble as a teenager, man. And she was really good with getting me into what do you call it? I don't want to say alternative groups, but they were organizations that were
They gave you an
they
alternative.
were organizations that were put around to give you an alternative out. You know what I mean? So when I got in trouble and stuff, mom really so so the idea of volunteering and being an activist through the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute, young people on the rise over Mayfair. So like I really didn't have much trouble going anywhere in the city because like I can go to Mayfair and these cats knew me because they knew my older brothers and my cousins and moms was over there, helping out with young people on the rise and Northeast Performing Arts Group, with rest her soul, Miss Rita. Mom used to try to have me dancing, anything and everything under the sun that she could do to try to save me and keep me from the streets. She did a great job to do that because there were several moments in my teenage years where I was lost and I was just a quarter of a second of not making it through. And especially when I lost my twin brother, that was a really, really tough time for me. And but with those programs and stuff that she had in place and those mentors, it's like God knew to tell her to have me in these programs because I was in these programs and stuff because I was messing up a little bit as a teenager long before my twin brother had passed away. So I had relationships and I had older men and cousins and babas and mentors that seen the good in me and kept their hand on my shoulder, as I went through those troubling times. And I can't be more thankful for that because it could be a totally different way. I got guys that I grew up with that's not here no more, you know.
Well, listening to you talk about those experiences, I can't help but to think about, what's ailing our communities today, right? What's lacking and what's missing in our communities. And, I remember growing up in Mayfair and Paradise during the height of the crack epidemic, but I also knew that we had God bless us because we had a village, right? We had structure throughout the chaos. We had structure, right? And so, what do you think are some of the things that are missing in the community today? How can we begin to try to fix some of those problems? I mean, most people are going to say the lack of fathers in the community. Okay, we know that's probably at the top of a lot of folks' list. But what are some of the things as a police officer, right, that you see on a day in day out basis that is missing in the community, and some things that can actually help to turn the communities around, stop the killing, and the abuse of the drugs and the substance abuse that's going on in the community.
Mm. Mentorship, mentorship and exposure. For me, for me, I, and I did this in reflection. Well, for me, I was able to understand what fresh air smelt like when I went on a retreat with the DC Crime Prevention Partnership, which was a court order for me to attend as a part of the conditions of the trouble that I got in. So I went on a retreat with the DC Crime Prevention Partnership, and it was the first time I swear I think we went down maybe Camp Riverview or Camp Brown or something like that. But it was fresh air and it was by the water, and they had morning dew and all that. I ain't know what none of that stuff like, but it felt good, you know. I wasn't looking over my back or looking over my shoulder or trying to figure out I'm gonna have to duck and run. Somebody about to come through and spray the bot. It just felt good to release for a minute. You know what I mean? And then I had people who were upstanding citizens and who was real about being upstanding citizens, because that's one of the things that I see we got a lot of right now. Is people faking. You know, people faking and they want that bag. You know, so they'll say they doing the work, but really they just want the bag. You know, in my opinion, you know, men of the cloth or people who are righteous and who are anointed to teach, they do that from their heart. It's not, you know what I mean? If I'm mentoring, I don't need a stipend. I don't need payment from you. You know what I mean? I'm taking the time out of my out of my day, you know, and energy out of my heart and my brain to give, you know. And it's not with payment. It ain't enough money in the world that's gonna repay anybody that's sold into me.
Right.
Any of my cousins that threw a punch that made me strong, I can't. And no amount of money that I can pay them for the love that they showed me in the way that they did and the understandings that they gave me after they prepared me for something. Can't. So we got a lot of fake people out here, and there's no other way to put around it. And when you really get down to the nuts and bolts of thing, who's doing what and for why or for what? Like why? Why are you doing this? You know what I mean? And would you do it if it's no? Would you do it if there's no funding in it?
Right.
And when you say village, you probably can name. We all probably can name 20 or 30, 20 or 30 different nonprofit organizations. But we as men and women, we lack the ability or enough ability to collaborate and partnership because we're stronger together than we are as one. So we got 50 to 100 different nonprofit organizations taking a bag and claiming to do the work, and everybody's doing a little part, but nobody's on the same page and really how much work is really getting done. So I think as a community, and you know, just being out there and seeing, like, we separate and we divide it, and
But
it's
that's been
easy to infiltrate
but see,
in
that's
that
been something
sense.
that's been going on in DC for the longest time. We talk about the crabs in the barrel mentality, right? That's been a part of DC, and I
Yeah,
think it's been
yeah, yeah.
part of DC. But I think you brought up a good point in that collaboration is important, but the intent. You talked about the intent, right? There are not enough folks, I believe,
Yeah, yeah.
have the proper intention, you know, when
True intent.
going into communities, right? When I look at right now, we have in Washington, D.C., we just had 10 family success centers that are opening up that launched back in October of this year throughout Ward 7 and 8, right? But we still can't address the mental health issue in this city.
Right.
We still can't address the fact that we are one city who doesn't have
Mhm.
not one mental health facility in our communities, from Ward 1 through Ward 8, right? And so
Mhm.
when we talk about what's ailing our communities and
Mhm.
how we can go about fixing those communities, I think a lot of folks are putting the onus and the focus on, you know, police and police brutality. Not to say that it's not an important issue, but I think because we focus so much on
Mhm.
that, we're not able to focus on accountability, right? We're not able to
Yeah,
focus on collaboration. We're not able to focus on, you know, what's truly ailing our communities, right? We're not getting out here talking to the people, you know, and engage the community in the way in which is going to be beneficial and productive. What's your take on that?
yeah. I mean, I've seen several dog parks with budgets for over $1 million, you know, pop up throughout the city. Dog parks. I like dogs, but dog parks. You know what I mean? So you say it goes back to it, like accountability and, you know, who got the bag and for what reason and what they doing with it, you know, like budgets, you know what I mean? Like, you know, who's the gatekeepers and what's their track record? Why you if somebody like this is a good question. If I gave somebody $100,000 and they screwed it up, and then I turn around and give them another $100,000, I mean, what kind of judgment is that? Is that you know what I mean? Like
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
probability.
yeah,
You know,
but
what's
that's
the
just
probability? It's
going
a
on.
50-50 chance that you know what I mean. So
And as one of our guests called it, DC is known for what did he call it? They known for pimping. They known for mentor pimping or program pimping, as you call it, because you got the same programs, same individuals
yeah,
continuously getting this money over and over and over again, but the results are staying the same. You know, nothing is different, right? What I also wanted to know was, you know, because in my research, you come from a talented family, very talented family. I mean, musicians, poets, rappers, you know, chefs, entrepreneurs. Can you speak about that a little bit? And I'm quite sure that has had an effect on you as far as why you wear so many different hats. So can you speak a little bit about that before we go into your the real estate portion?
Oh, you know, entrepreneurship's in my blood. Like, you know, I woke up, you know, I came out the womb and it was like funny story, and it's probably gonna be in the story, but you know, my uncle Avon, he's the best storyteller that I've ever come to know. He said Michael Jackson was at the hospital when me and my twin brother was born, and he was trying to buy us. But
Mhm.
no, but real talk, real talk. You know, my dad, he's you know, he owned 3 record labels. Matter of fact, it might have been 4. And
What's your dad's name?
you
Tell
know, he
people your dad.
produced. Yeah, my dad's name is Joseph Tate. So most of the time they know him as Joe Tate, but he started playing music at Eastern High School for the marching band. That's right, the infamous, for all y'all ramblers out there. Whoop whoop! The infamous Eastern Senior High School had a crazy marching band back when he was in grade school, and he played the saxophone, and then he went and played at and sat in at 16 years old down at Howard Theater for some great jazz musicians, and from there he made connections and got into writing music and scoring music and producing. And the most notable one that he produced, y'all remember that? Y'all heard a song by 21 Savage and J. Cole, How Much Money You Got? Well, that was a derivative of one of the songs that he produced back in the day by a group called Fuzz. That was a female group. And it hit top 20, it hit top 21 like two weeks in a row on the billboards. And then he had another song called For All Seasons, and then another song called I Love It Like That. But you know, he was really, in my opinion, during the time, the 60s and the 70s, he was like the Berry Gordy of DC when it came to putting musicians together and pushing out, you know, albums from different record groups and hitting the top billboards on R&B charts. And you know, he did that. So from a very early age, when I would hear him at the top of the stairs playing the saxophone, you know, I knew I had to do something in music. And you know, that was just in my soul. And you know, I began to write. And my older brother, he did stuff with so my oldest brother, he was rapping, you know, and used to play in bands with Lil Benny, Go Go Mickey. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So when I show up with him at Tacoma Station or any of the other spots, it's like, you know, like my family as musicians and producers and writers and shit. My sister Sakina, she, you know, she's written and she got an album out, had an album out, and, you know, worked with, you know, she's sung for Whitney Houston, you know, and she was still in high school, I think. You know what I mean? So, you know, my family has a real rich history in the city, in music, and we actually currently working on a project to release some stuff. You know, my father was blackballed back in the 70s by, you know, some mobsters that owned a record label called Roulette Records up in New York, and they wouldn't let us stuff out, and you know, so we still got unreleased reels to reels and master tapes and stuff, and that was like gold music that's never been released. So, you know, finishing his work is one of the other things that I've been working on the music side of things. And I'm excited about actually bringing that story to pass while, you know, some of the singers and stuff are still here. But yeah, music business, you've been here, just business period. And I think it really started with the music aspect of things and, you know, how that works. So, and then my mom, she sung, you know, my dad would be at the piano playing. My mom would be over there singing, and then my brother Darren, you know, he could rap, and my brother Atif, he plays. So we like, you know, I can't really put the words together. You probably had to get us back on here all together, like all
I
10 of us,
definitely do that.
or 5 or 6 of
I want
us,
to do a
and
show where I can get all y'all back on, man, and we can you know, showcase the Tates, man. We can showcase, you
man,
know, everyone who, you know, is doing their thing and whatever
man.
genre that they're doing it in, man, and definitely get you back on to do that, right? I don't want to take too much time tonight, but I want to
But
do the
I, but
speaking
but I,
of the family. right? But go ahead,
Yeah,
finish.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, so I mean, I really, I I become really thankful for the family structure that I had at a very young age, man, and the way that my brothers and sisters and my mom and dad, they pushed me to learn and understand what building wealth was. And recently, oh, I can't even say recently, about 8 years ago, I decided to get into real estate, and I started to get into real estate because I seen that a message came across my board was saying, buy the land, control the people. I was like, what does that mean? What? And so, along with that, the idea of growing my own vegetables and what it takes to have a sustainable lifestyle, became really important. So then I'm gonna say, oh, wait, if I own a house and then I got land, then I can grow my own vegetables and maybe even have a chicken or two and get eggs, and like I can really not go to the grocery store and I can really like sustain myself. Like, and then after sustaining myself, after I'm finished paying for this for 30 years, dang, my kids, they can go, I can take money out and they can go to college, or I can pass it along to them. And it makes it's me moving outside of myself and making life easier for my offspring. You know what I mean?
That's
Because
what
now
you're
they
talking
have
about.
something,
Legacy.
so I
Even legacy form. That's a true legacy.
legacy, real legacy, and if you just want to talk about, Donald Trump's family, they built their wealth in real estate very early on. So you think it's his father and his grandfather, real estate. So like, now you got people from China and all other kind of countries, Europe, Germany, China, coming over here to purchase land, to buy homes, at an alarming rate. So I'm really passionate about any buyers or sellers that I work with. Honestly, I try to encourage sellers to become landlords and hold on to the property. But if they so want to, sell and maybe purchase another home, then as long as they doing something responsible, that's going to leave a legacy for, their offspring that's behind them. If that's the case, then it's a beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, like, you want people to enjoy life and to be able to not have money to go down the drain by renting legitimately. I helped the client purchase a home and her rent was $1,500. She bought a 5 bedroom house and a three car garage that's detached for 1575, $75 more a month. And she only had to take a 45-minute drive further than what she was taking before. So she balanced the idea of building wealth, what it costs, how much space I get, how my family, like whatever it is that you want, don't, when it comes to real estate, don't wait. Get in there and find out what your game plan is. You know what I'm saying? Talk to a lender so the lender can tell you where you are so that you can know where you need to be. But keep on trying to lean on, like, that's one of the things that I want us all to remember is that we don't always have all of the answers. So I got two
Right.
mentors and probably a couple of other people in the real estate world, in the business world, in the finance world that I can call because I don't always have all the answers. You know what I mean? So I got mentors.
I think your okay. There you go. You're back in your
Okay.
volume. Well, you good
Yeah,
now.
the answers that I don't have, I hope to be able to landline a friend, or a mentor and get it from them. You know what I mean? And trust that, a mentor to me is somebody that you can trust, somebody that you can trust and call and ask and get the answer. And if they don't have the answer, your mentor will tell you. If you trust them, hey, I don't know, let me call my mentor and let me get back with you. And so that's sharing knowledge and building a legacy and building wealth. So, I encourage everybody, my phone number, my link,
I was
just
going to
reach out
ask you
to me or send me
how can you if they're interested in real estate, purchasing a home, getting their credit restored, or just putting a game plan together on how to start, right? And how can they
yeah.
reach you? Can you give me the link so that I can post it and everyone can find you if they want to find you?
Yeah, so the best way to reach me is really shoot me an email, Hakeem Hakim Tate Tate at Gmail, and the other way to reach me is on IG. I like the platform for IG, so it's at sold SOLD underscore by underscore my last name Tate Tate. So that's sold underscore by underscore Tate on IG. So find me on there, and whatever it is that you need help with, trust me, like it can happen. Like it can happen. And one thing that people will always need is a it's not buy. When I say buy, it's just BY, not BUY. So if you and, sold without the E, so
But without
SOLD underscore BY underscore underscore Tate, or the emails right there. Y'all just listen. One thing for sure, two things for certain. People will always need a place to live. So you can't go wrong with real estate. Whether you want to buy a 400 apartment building, whether you want to buy a 2 bedroom house, a 1 bedroom condo, whatever it is, if you're not living in it, then you can rent it to somebody else or sell it to somebody else, and somebody will always need a place to live. Because guess what? People out here, it was a pandemic this year. They still making babies. So
and they still making
18
money.
years from now, they still making babies and they still making money. You're right. So 18 years from now, that place is still gonna be for sale or for rent, and your kids can collect on it, or your kids can collect on it. So let's think in that way and create a wealth so that we can have some leverage to make some real power moves and do stuff that our kids really want to do.
Okay. Now, before we go, man, before we end, I had a few questions from the chat that we had Lukman from Bridges DC wants to know how can the organization promote your book, purchase your book, and get you to be a part, or have your book to be, or you and your book to be a part of the Books and Breakfast program that they operate over in Southeast Washington DC area. And again, that's Bridges DC, y'all. Bridges DC, y'all. Check them out. Check the brothers out in Washington, D.C., Southeast Starter Terrace area. They're doing great work up there. They do books and breakfast. They also have a family success center up there. So definitely check the brothers up there, Bridges D.C. out in the Starter Terrace Ridge Road area. But can you speak on that a little bit for me, Hakeem?
Yeah, Joe, just shoot me an email, and I would say shoot me an email with 3 suggested dates and times, and I'm sure that one of those 3 dates or times we can work out a date or time, and I'll come through. I'll give you the books at cost, because they for the kids. You know what I mean? And these are kids in areas that need this, so it's not. In this case, I appreciate and I'm honored by the fact that you want to promote the book and even purchase the book. Like that touches my heart. um but it's a collaboration. It's teamwork to make the dream work, and the dream is these kids' dreams of being something great when they grow up. So whatever I can sow into them and whatever I can help you sow into them, like I'm for it. So yeah, just shoot me 3 dates. And to my email below, Hakeem Tate at Gmail. And book readings, I love to do book readings. I like connecting with the kids. I got the twins right here, little stuffed animals. They
Oh,
play,
you got it.
stickers
You
and
got
all that kind of stuff. I got them
it.
with me. You know what I mean? They be ready. They be ready.
I
They
know
be
that's
ready.
right. You got it on deck.
So
That's right. That's right. That's right.
yeah, I always got them on deck because the kids they like the animated stuff. So yeah. So yeah, just hit me up and we'll discuss it and we'll make it happen, man. Anything for the kids, and that goes for anybody else with book readings. And as far as promoting, just share. Just share. Let people know that it's a great book. Capture some video of the kids enjoying it. I love to see kids enjoying it. You know what I mean? We did a coat drive. Me and some of the brothers from Warren Lodge, they did a coat drive last week, and we seen kids walk up with no coat, bro. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With no coat,
Mm.
and they put a warm coat on. You know what I mean, bruh? The excitement was greater than that I would see if they was to pick up a new toy and take it out the package. It was like their whole soul warmed up when they put on that coat. you know
Mm.
and so just stuff like that. So whatever it is that we can do for the community to encourage and be a model and encourage them to own property. You know what I mean? At a young age, we want them to know that it's obtainable, because for so long, we wasn't taught about, building generational wealth through owning property, and owning land and or investment. Like, we want to show them that early. You know what I mean? As early as we can. So eventually we'll work on a book like that together. You know what I mean? With the kids. So the kids can start creating and having in their mindset how to create the generational wealth. You know what I mean? And if we come together and do it, you know what I'm saying? Come together to do it collaboration style, do it together, bruh.
Mhm.
That's what I'm talking about. The way that we are working together now to get it out, man.
Right.
It's a blessing, for us to all like to come together to make it happen for people who may have not heard it or seen it. You know what I mean? That's it. Passing the message, spreading the word.
I know that our guests, those who have tuned into the show, um, they all agree with you. That definitely real estate is generational wealth. Begins with owning property and passing it on to the next generation. The key is accumulating
Yes.
property, never sell, accumulate, accumulate, accumulate. We got some comments
Yeah.
that real estate is the best investment ever. So um,
Yeah.
we got some folks
It's
that said, that with real estate you can't go wrong. So we got a lot of
no, you can't. And let me tell you, I and listening, like we don't listen enough, like we don't listen to our seniors enough. I sat down and I was so surprised. Most people say my uncle Butch talk too much. Man, he can talk me to death any day, because the amount of jewels and knowledge that he get. He told me stories about when he was buying property and his whole, his downfalls, his mistakes. Man, if if brother Malik, if you can share 10 mistakes that you made with me, that's more than any amount of money that you could give me, my brother.
yeah,
Because I
because
hope that if I ever reach that mistake one day, I know exactly what to do. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
my father
I
used to say,
appreciate $10, but I would rather have your tips. You
yeah,
know?
my father used to say, every mistake that you make in life, right, is not only an experience,
Yeah,
right, but it's gonna cost you something, right? And so you want to limit those
yeah,
mistakes because you don't want it to cost you too much over a long period of time. You know what I mean? So too many mistakes could cost you your life.
yeah,
Too many mistakes can
yeah,
cost you, your dream, right? Your future, your children's legacy,
yeah,
right? And so you definitely want to pay attention to the
yep,
mistakes others. But again, we talked about it early in the show: accountability, being accountable, right? Being able to look
yeah,
yourself in the mirror
yeah,
and
yeah,
recognizing and understanding where you need to do better, right? Where you have fallen short, and how. Not just that you
mhm,
can help someone else, but I like something that in everything that you do, I feel like you are teaching others how to fish, right? Instead of just teaching them a skill and leaving them to themselves, you're
yeah,
teaching them how to fish, right? When you talk about real estate, that's fishing, right? Teaching them how to accumulate, wealth, generational wealth, how to pass it along to your children, the importance of credit. All these things are tools and mechanisms to teach people how to fish. And so I
yeah,
really appreciate the work that you're doing in the community. I really appreciate you, the work that you're doing as a police officer. I really appreciate how you represent Islam, right, and African Americans within the United States, as a police officer. And I just, I thank you, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on and joining me on the show tonight. I definitely want to have you back, and I definitely want to have some of your siblings on with us the next time, God willing, so that we can definitely showcase some of their talents and some of the work the great work that they're doing also in the community. But before we close, is there anything that you would like to leave with the people?
yeah. The last thing we was talking about mistakes and experiences, right?
Mhm.
One of the experiences that I'm still struggling with, and I'm gonna be transparent about this, right, is how much time I spend on social media, you know. And we talk about accountability, becoming
Mhm.
accountable
Mhm.
for my time. Sometimes I can spend 10, 15 minutes just scrolling, like this, like that, which is all good. It's love, but having control, because sometimes I have to stop myself. But like, yo, I'm supposed to be typing this contract up, and I just somehow got to. But that's being in control and being accountable for yourself and your own time. Because if I'm in the middle of writing the contract and I get a notification and I pop it, then I'm scrolling, then I lost focus. So, I lose focus sometimes. That's one of the mistakes that I'm still struggling with. And I believe that once I get better at maintaining my focus, then I become a better individual and more effective at helping people own homes, helping people sell homes, helping people rent their homes out, helping people write books, helping kids understand that they can be as great as they like to be. So, that's the last thing I really want to share. And I hope y'all connect with me. Let's collaborate and let's work together to make it happen, because the more of us work on one or two particular projects, for the greater good of the community and the village, like, we can do it. Like, you can be that much more effective. I thank you for having me too, Malik. Like, I really appreciate this.
It's my pleasure, brother. It's my pleasure. Again, if you want to reach our brother Hakeem Tate, you can reach him by emailing him at hakeemtate@gmail.com. His email is on the screen. I'll leave it up just for a few moments so that you all can copy it and paste it. And definitely reach out to him if you have any interest in purchasing a home, if you have interest in getting your credit together, if you have an interest in just developing a game plan, right, on how to move forward. Please reach out to our brother Hakeem. Again, his books. His books are available on Amazon. The first book, God Bless the Mother, and his second book, The Twins Adventure, A Race with Officer Friendly. And of course, he just mentioned two other books that he has coming out this year, early this year. So please support our brother, support Black businesses. Again, look out for our brother in the community. He is a police officer in Washington, D.C. So when you see him, show him some love. Definitely don't pull up next to him and say, let's race. He might like that, but show him some love, man. And definitely, talk with the brother. Again, organizations who would like to have Brother Hakeem come to do a book seating or a book reading with your organization, with the children in your organization, again, reach out to him at hakeemtate@gmail.com. Again, we want to thank you, brother, for joining us today. It was my pleasure having you, man. I wish we can continue this on and on and on. But, again, I want to have you back again and with your siblings, God willing. And I just want to thank you, man. And, we look forward to having you back on the next show. And thank you all for joining in and tuning in. Definitely join us on our next podcast. We're on Facebook Live at Straight Path Films. That's STR, the number 8, Path Films on Facebook Live. You would definitely see a flyer or correspondence that we normally post a week or the day of the show. So definitely continue to join us. We're going to have many more guests on the show upcoming. But again, thank you, Brother Tate, for joining us. Have a great evening, and thank you all for joining us. And I always like to end my podcast with a prayer or a dua, man. So I'm gonna take us out with a dua. And again, thank you for joining us, brother. Have a great day, and I look forward to talking with you again soon in the future.
Thank you.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم